Hey there. So I'm going to walk you through the video of collecting the information you're going to need for your airfoil and foil sim. So the first thing you want to do is set up your flight settings, and you want to bring your speed down to something more reasonable, what we can throw at and what our tunnel throws at it. So about 30 miles an hour or so. And then we're sitting at an altitude of roughly 300 feet. So that's a little bit more difficult to get. So I'm just going to round down and keep it zero for now, just for time. The second thing you want to do is configure the size of your airfoil. So for size, we are talking about a cord length of, and that's again this profile that we see on the screen of 4 inches, which is about a third of a foot. So the closest we can get to that in FOILSIM is 0.3 feet, and then a span length of 1 foot. We're then going to go into our shape settings. And if you are doing a heavy lifter, you're trying to get this lift value as big as possible. If you're trying to do the glider wing, you're trying to get this lift to drag ratio as big as possible. So let's do the lift to drag one first. And so usually gliders don't have a high angle of attack, so I'm going to leave it at 0, and then I'm just going to kind of play with the camber here. And so I'm trying to get this lift to drag ratio as high as I can get it. I saw 11 there for a second, which is great, and I'm going to play with the thickness as well and see if I can find a maximum value there. And it's like 11.72. That looks pretty good. So that has the highest lift to drag ratio that I can find quickly. Maybe I could find something faster. You're going to take a screen if I had more time. So you're going to take a screenshot of this right here. So this is so you can go back to these settings. So this has an angle of attack of 0 degrees, a camber, percent camber is 3.6, and then a thickness as a percent of cord length being 10. What I need out of this though is the geometry. So I'm going to go into geometry here, and I am going to, I have a really hard time actually highlighting this and selecting it. So instead, to speed it up, I'm going to go Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and I'm going to go into my spreadsheet here and then paste this in. Now, this actually does need cleaned up a little bit. So I'm going to go through here and delete these extra rows that I don't need. So I'm just highlighting them and then deleting rows 1 through 33. And I'm also going to delete a couple rows in here. So what we're seeing here is basically points across the wing or the airfoil that we've created. Oops, I'm having a hard time doing that one. Let's see if I can delete that row. We're also seeing so the X and Y coordinates for those points. We are also seeing, I believe, a pressure and velocity value across the wing, which we're not going to need. But this will put us in a good situation here. So let's call this. This is going to be our glider airfoil. All right. Going back to FOILSIM, if you're doing the heavy lifter, you're shooting for something a little bit different. So you're shooting for really something with as much camber as possible, because you're trying to make this lift number as big as possible, and really a steeper angle of attack too. Now the problem is, because our airspeed is so slow, and this does not provide us with a resolution here of how much lift is after this 2 pounds, or if it's rounding it up. Instead, to get that kind of resolution, we're going to increase the airspeed. So we're going to go into our flight settings and increase our speed back up to 100 miles an hour or so. And now when we go to the shape and we change these things, at least we're getting something um, where I can see what the value is at. So here there's still some difference here, and it looks like as much camber as possible. Let's see here. Oh, there's a high lift. I'm just watching the lift value. So it looks as though as much camber as possible. You can play with different air speeds if you want, but you're going to collect the same thing. on this, just looking at this lift value and getting as big as possible. And if you need more resolution in this number, or you need to fine tune it, you can increase your airspeed to do that. So hold on 1 second, Mrs. Davis. All right, so that gives you an idea for both the wings.